Have you ever heard something so wild, so messed up that your brain literally says, nah, that can't be real? Well, here's something. In the 1950s and 60s, right here in America, in St. Louis, the U.S. military sprayed chemicals over public housing on purpose. And the worst part, the residents, mostly black, mostly poor, didn't even know. Welcome to That Doesn't Make Sense, where I, Michael Porter, dig into moments in history that are so twisted you think they were fiction. Pruitt-Igoe was never just supposed to be housing. It was a promise, a symbol. Built in 1954 with federal funds, it was meant to answer St. Louis's public housing crisis. But almost immediately, racial and economic neglect defined its fate. City leaders like Mayor Raymond Tucker and housing officials approved this experiment with little concern for longevity or quality of life. And what's worse, it was built isolated, cut off from economic hubs, job centers, even schools. Let's start with the setting. Pruitt-Igoe. It was a public housing project in North St. Louis built after World War II, designed to be modern, clean, and affordable. But what it became was something else entirely. Poorly maintained, over-policed, and isolated, the residents were almost entirely black. So now, instead of fixing the community, the government turned it into a test site. The military chose Pruitt-Igoe and surrounding neighborhoods to spray a chemical called zinc cadmium sulfide. We'll call it CZS. It's a compound with a heavy metal known to be toxic if inhaled in large amounts. They installed sprayers on buildings and drove around spraying mist into the air, sometimes at night, sometimes in broad daylight, and nobody told the residents a damn thing. Let's go deeper. Operation LAC, Large Area Coverage, was a U.S. Army test program that blanketed entire cities in aerosolized particles. They called it a test of aerosol dispersion, but residents weren't told what was being sprayed. And from 1953 to 1965, CZS, suspected to be toxic, was spread from rooftops, cars, and planes. The plane they used, a C-119 flying boxcar, it flew low, deliberately so, dispersing chemicals over North St. Louis's predominantly black neighborhoods. Army scientists like Eugene Creasley and Colonel David Borden gave the orders. No consent, no apology, just data collection on living people. It was called Operation LAC, Large Area Coverage. The Army claimed it was a test how a biological weapon might spread across the city. But instead of using an empty field or military base, they picked a densely populated black neighborhood. No permission, no disclosure, no safety study, no follow-up. Later on, residents started reporting clusters of illnesses, cancer, respiratory issues, miscarriages. One survivor, Ben Phillips, said, "We were lab rats, but nobody told us." And to this day, there's no admission of harm, no apology, no justice. How many people died from that experiment? We don't know. How many people got sick later? We don't know. But they never bothered to find out. Now let's talk truth. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a random pick. This was systematic racism at the government level. The same mind state that allowed the Tuskegee syphilis study that let the doctors steal Henrietta Lacks cells without consent, that performed forced sterilization on black women. They picked St. Louis because they thought no one would care, because these people were poor, because they were black. And honestly, for decades, nobody did care. You don't spray chemicals over a white suburb and call it science. You only do that when you see people as disposable, as data points, not as human. Today, many of those same communities in North St. Louis remain under-resourced, over-policed, and underprotected. Environmental racism doesn't always come in the form of a pipeline. It can come in the form of a spray can or a cargo plane. Just think, if they could do it then, what makes you think they can't do it again or wouldn't try to do it again, here or somewhere else? What makes sense when justice never came? This story matters right now because these buildings, some are still standing. That community is still there, and the health problems did not vanish. People still live with the consequences of what was done to them in silence. This is what environmental racism looks like. Communities of color being used, abused, and forgotten while officials hide behind fake science and paperwork. It's not just about the past. It's about accountability, memory, and justice that never came. In the land of the free, folks were sprayed like bugs. Concrete jungles soaked in chemical hugs. Laughter from balconies turned to coughs. Mothers wiping tears that wouldn't wash off. The walls held secrets in peeling paint. Our fathers who worked till their backs grew faint. Babies born with breath too thin, and no one asked why it burned their skin. No war declared, no flags were worn, but battlefields formed where they called it home. Silent planes dropped sickness slow, and nobody told them the things they'd know. Grandmothers rocked through invisible haze. Children ran through radioactive days. Doctors lied, papers burned, and trust was something never returned. In the land of the free, where truth was steep, where black folks lay in poison sleeps, they studied our bodies like lab reports and left us broken in government courts. We still feel it in our lungs and bones, in stories passed through whispered tones. They sprayed, they left, they paved it clean, and built a statue on what used to scream. But silence dies when memories speak, and justice ain't just what the court technique. In the naming of names, it's the telling of truth. It's the fire we feed from our living roots. So no, we're not done. We remember the pain, the mothers, the babies, the chemical rain. We speak out loud so the world can see. This is what they call freedom. This is what they did to me. That doesn't make sense. But it happened. And if we don't tell it, they'll keep acting like it didn't. They're still in the process of erasing this history like it didn't happen. But we know better. Our ancestors, our grandfathers, our grandmothers have taught us. We know better. If this episode moved you, you share it, you post it, talk to people. Look up groups like PHACTS, People Fighting for Truth and Compensation. They want us to move on, but we're not done talking. I'm Michael Porter, and you've been listening to That Doesn't Make Sense. And believe me, We're just getting started. This show was written and produced by me, Michael Porter. And the music is by Keto Bray.